there are still places you can go. Basically, really, really insane, seriously, intellectually diluted corners of the internet. You know, on Facebook, there's groups like the Other 98% and the Political Cat, I think it's called. These are crazy places, right? But these are places that you're going to find people that really do believe that Joe Biden is doing a good job. And I think they believe that the guy, I think they believe he's a sure thing for re-election. I mean, these people are clearly insane, right? His polls are trash. Moderates and independents, to the extent that those even still exist, aren't going to vote for the guy. That's not going well. I mean, the insane, crazy leftists taking over college campuses and bridges, I think it's pretty safe to say they're out. And now MSNBC, they're after the poor guy. And I'm sorry, man, but when you're a leftist and MSNBC starts to turn on you, you're done, dude. I mean, that's a wrap. But here's the thing. Here's why MSNBC is upset with Joe Biden. They're upset. I mean, there's a million things they could be upset about, but they're upset that the one part of America that he hasn't actively worked to destroy is the Supreme Court.
So if you were part of the 70% of Americans who agree that the president should not have absolute immunity, and then you watch what transpired this week in court, what is left as recourse, right? There's court reform, there's stacking the court. What do you see as the path forward? Because clearly something more structural is necessary.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think actually, as we think about, this administration and its legacy, I think it will go down as having been a historic political miscalculation.
You're talking about the Biden administration.
The Biden administration to not have made a real earnest effort at Supreme Court reform. They put together a commission that produced some report that nobody read. It was not a serious effort to actually pursue Supreme Court reform. And now,
well, I would know because the President Biden. I mean, I worked for him at that time. I was a part of the transition, and I worked in the White House. And I know for a fact, and I mean, Eugene, you didn't ask him the questions too. I was there. He himself does not believe that is an avenue that should be explored. Joe Biden is somebody that believes in the rules and laws and the systems. And one could argue, Ankush is basically like, it's time to do things differently.
Dude, listen to what these insane propagandists are willing to say on TV. I mean, this is what they're giving Joe Biden a hard time about. Simone Sanders says that Joe Biden is somebody that believes in the rules and the laws and the systems when we need to be doing something differently. I mean, come on. Is it just me? Am I reading too much into it? Or can these people really not hear themselves talk? I mean, they started the segment talking about how 70% of Americans don't believe the president should have absolute immunity. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen this poll or this study or whatever, but if it's true, it's only because they don't know what that means. They don't recognize that every single federal official enjoys absolute immunity. And I totally get it. I get that it's poorly named. I get that it's scary sounding, especially, when delivered by people who give Joe Biden a hard time about caring about law and the system, which I disagree with, by the way. I mean, there's zero chance he gives two shits about our laws or our systems. I promise you that. But anyway, absolute immunity is a real thing. All it is, it's protection for officials from litigation and prosecution from anything that happens during the course of their official duties. That's all it is. But it's our fault for letting people become so damn dumb that they believe this kind of stuff, that they're frightened by things that actually exist. But thank God, most of us are not this damn dumb.
Well, look, I mean, yeah, I'm aware he has that view. He is holding the wrong view. I hate to say that about the president. He's been wrong about this the whole time. And now this court, over the last few years, is systematically running roughshod through our Constitution. In just the last few years, they've overturned Roe. They've invalidated affirmative action in higher education. They basically legalized same-sex discrimination. They threw out part of the Biden administration's signature domestic policy effort on the student loan forgiveness plan. And now they seem poised to issue some sort of ruling that will change the law, which had already been in place for a couple hundred years. We all assumed a president could be criminally charged after leaving office, to now come up with some crazy new doctrine.
I don't mean to laugh. It's not funny, but these people are crazy, man. They have no idea how crazy they really are. I mean, just listen to this guy. He says the court is running roughshod through the Constitution when they sent abortion rights back to the individual states, which is very constitutional. He said they're running roughshod through the Constitution when they made racism illegal again in hiring and college admissions. I honestly don't know what he's talking about with the legalizing same-sex discrimination. If you're following that logic let me know in the chat. But my favorite part is when he says that it's a crime against the Constitution to stop the president from using taxpayer dollars to buy votes from gender studies majors who now work at Starbucks, which he says, and I'll agree with him here, he says it's Biden's signature domestic policy, which it's true. I mean, it's the only thing he's really done domestically is try to give your money to gender studies majors. And now he says their biggest crime, they're poised to invent doctrine that doesn't line up with what he says. He says, well, the way he put it, we all assume that presidents could be criminally charged. And he implies because he assumed it, that was the law for a couple hundred years. Well, I got to tell you, I'm pretty sure that Barry did not think he could be criminally charged when he was droning American citizens with no even thought for due process.
And
to say nothing of the Idaho case that they are listening to right now, which is like all of their chickens coming home to roost.
Oh, yeah, and it's like, oh, yeah, we don't want to save women.
All of the cases coming back to them after Dobbs is a mess. And this immunity ruling, if it comes out as I think most of us kind of are expecting, it will go down in its history as a practical effect, as a practical matter, as a sequel to Bush versus Gore.
Why do you think it is that these people all believe that the court is going to issue some sort of immunity? I think it's because they've actually heard the arguments themselves. It's because they heard every word the government said. And maybe some of them finally, after years and years of talking about it, actually Googled absolute immunity. And now that they've actually read the indictment, they've heard the arguments before the court, they've Googled what immunity actually is, they realize that Donald Trump is being charged for essentially just being president on January 6th. And these are crazy times, man. And these are crazy, crazy ass people. But that's just my take, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.